Creative Critical Reflection Question 2. Question 2. How does our product engage with audiences and how will it be distributed as a real media text? Audiences. The target audience for our film Who's There is a young horror-aware audience, mainly aged between 16 and 25. They're more familiar with atmospheric and psychological horror than fast-paced, jump-scare-driven movies. Independent horror productions and movies that emphasize suspense, realism, and mystery are more likely to appeal to this audience. This audience prefers deliberate horror, which allows fear to develop gradually and encourages emotional engagement over narratives that provide context instantly. We decided to engage audiences through restricted narration. The reading in the bed opening scene supports this by beginning with calm realism before introducing disruption through an off-screen sound, encouraging audiences to actively anticipate danger rather than immediately witnessing it, where key information is deliberately withheld. During development, we realized that beginning with the reading in that opening scene allowed tension to emerge more naturally, as audiences first observe normal behavior before sensing disruption through sound. In our film, the threat is never fully revealed, and events unfold only from the protagonist's limited perspective. This places the audience in the same position as the protagonist, allowing them to share her anxiety and uncertainty. Instead of depending on explicit explanation, viewers have to focus and interpret signals like sound, shadows, and props, particularly during the quiet reading in the bed opening scene, where small auditory cues guide audience expectations. We ensure that audience remains interested and emotionally engaged through the use of enigma codes, particularly in scenes such as the knocking and the note pushed through the letterbox, which were influenced by The Conjuring. In addition, this encouraged them to keep watching in order to unravel the mystery. In our film, as the protagonist is encouraged to take the risk by confronting an unknown creature while carrying a knife, the film's conclusion generates the most powerful scene. This instance demonstrates her courage and resistance, as we covered in question 1. This also challenges typical stereotypes, as the female protagonist actively resists the threat rather than remaining passive. This scene builds strong tension and mystery, as it includes a subtle jump scare created through an unexpected reveal of the figure. It also uses enigma codes, raising questions such as whether the girl survives and what the unknown character represents. As a result, this moment is particularly effective at hooking the audience by combining mystery, horror, tension, and a sudden shock. We intended to present the horror as supernatural and ambiguous, as this type of horror creates greater tension and excitement for the audience. The mysterious figure that is unknown keeps the threat unsettling and unclear. This ambiguous feeling was reflected by reinforcing through the use of a jump scare at the end of the film. Jump scares are an important convention in horror because they create immediate, visceral reactions by combining sudden visual and audio elements, intensifying fear. By placing this jump scare at the end, we leave the audience disturbed and questioning the true nature of the threat. Sound design also plays a key role in engaging audiences. Diegetic sounds such as footsteps, knocking, and creaking floorboards are familiar and realistic, making the situation feel believable. This realism allows audiences to imagine themselves in a similar situation, increasing fear and tension. Non-diegetic sound is used subtly to build unease rather than dominate the scene. When the girl walks towards the note, fear is created through silence, as the scene is designed to build an intense sense of unease and make the audience feel deeply unsettled. In this moment, rather than relying on a jump scare, this scene unsettles the audience through atmosphere, reinforcing psychological tension and anticipation. In terms of audience positioning, the camera work places viewers close to protagonists through handheld tracking shots and POV shots. This motivates the audience to emotionally connect with her while experiencing circumstances from her point of view by creating intimacy and vulnerability. The preferred view places proceeds audiences to identify the protagonist and understand the threat as psychological and based on familiar domestic setting. Even though different audiences may interpret the film differently, this relates to Startall's reception theory, which argues that rather than passively absorbing meaning, viewers actively analyze media text. The preferred and interpretation of our movie allows viewers to identify with the protagonist and perceive the threat as possibly supernatural as well as psychological. This reading is likely to be accepted by our target audience due to their familiarity with horror conventions and similar films. From a use and gratification perspective, our film Who's There offers audiences entertainment and diversion through an immersive and tense narrative. According to the Blumler and Katz, audiences actively choose media text to satisfy specific needs, such as diversion, personal identity, and social interaction, all of which are offered by our film through its intense narrative, relatable fears, and ambiguous ending. It also supports personal identity, as viewers may relate to fears surrounding safety and vulnerability in the home. Additionally, the unresolved enigmas encourage social interaction, as audiences are likely to discuss their interpretations and theories with friends or online, particularly on social media platforms. Industry and distribution. In terms of distribution, our film Who's There would follow a digital-first release strategy, which is a typical of low-budget independent horror films. Digital platforms are also allow audiences to interact with the text through comments, theories, and sharing, which extends engagement beyond viewing and reflects contemporary participatory audience culture. Our film will be distributed online and video on demand platforms like YouTube, Vimeo. This avoids the high expenses of theatrical distribution and enables the movie to directly reach its intended audiences. Our approach with current industry practices, where independent films often rely on social media marketing and online distribution to create trailers, short clips, and advice on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, which are frequently how younger horror fans access new films. We will use still images, behind-the-scenes videos, and promotional clips to build excitement and anticipation for the movie's premiere. The financial realities of the film industry are also reflected in our distribution strategy. Younger horror fans commonly discover new films through trailers, short clips, and recommendations on platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. To promote the film, we will use teaser clips, still images, and behind-the-scenes content to generate interest and anticipation before release. The distribution strategy also reflects the economic realities of the film industry. This approach fits with the David Hasmonhold's theory that media industries try to reduce financial risk. Independent film outside established franchises frequently target niche audiences and utilize cost-effective digital distribution channels. For Who Is There, we applied this by choosing online and digital platforms for distribution, as this is more realistic for an independent horror opening with a limited budget. In contrast, major production companies mitigate financial risk by focusing on franchises and established brands, whereas independent films depend more on niche audiences and word-of-mouth promotion. In our film, we use recognizable horror conventions such as restricted narration, vulnerability, and enigma cost, helps attract this niche audience and reduces financial risk. By targeting a specific horror audience and employing recognizable genre conventions, the film reduces financial risk while maintaining a clear and distinctive identity. Overall, our film Who Is There engages audiences through psychological tension, realism, restricted narration, and ambiguity, encouraging emotional involvement and active interpretation. It proposed distribution through digital platforms and social media, reflects contemporary industry practices, and enables the film to reach a specialized horror audience in a realistic and believable way.